What's going on, Raider Nation? It's your boy, Mikey Raider, coming to you late at night, as a Midnight Raider would and should. We're going to talk a little bit about the Rams Week 2 preseason game from my perspective, and we're going to continue the theme of last week's episode of not the basic storylines or all the stats and possibilities of what happened in the preseason game, but we're going to look through some untold, untalked about storylines. And forgive my lighting, it is late at night and I don't have the best lighting setup. But we're going to get into a few untold storylines from this week's game, and some of them are a continuation during the off season, and we got a few good ones for you. And let's break it all down if you're with me. Please hit that thumbs up, that like, that subscribe button. Consider becoming a member of this channel to support your boy, to buy some damn tacos, and to get exclusive live streams coming soon, and fantasy football leagues, and other stuff for exclusives for members only. And I appreciate you. I love you. And please hit up this hotline during this entire season. After every game, leave a rant. Leave your thoughts on the game. Let me know what's going on so I can have you on a future Friday show. This is more of a recap review as opposed to a weekly Raider football talk show that will begin not this Friday, but the following Friday. And we're going to talk about that week as well, and everything drama-oriented or storyline or hot topic-oriented. And we're going to break it down each and every weekend during the entire season. So join me for that. All right, let's get into it. What are some of the untold storylines from the season? Well, first, we got to review the stats from the game. That's right, I wanted to look at these as opposed to not doing it last week from my couch. But I want to look at the stats real quickly, and we can talk about some of the storylines in the stats that they're not even talking about. So we got it on screen. We got the final score. 34-17, the Raiders coming off the big win versus the 49ers, the 40-winers, if you will. The Raiders came out really strong early with Jimmy G. A lot of people didn't think Jimmy G was going to play. I did not know if he was going to play, and I was surprised to see him out there and to find out that he was going to play at least a series or two. I felt like Daniel LaRusso in the movie Karate Kid, where Mr. Miyagi does his healing technique and he puts Daniel LaRusso in there. I wish they would have came out and said, Jimmy G's gonna play. That's how I felt. Daniel LaRusso's gonna fight. And forgive my graphics, my camera's gonna go in and out due to the lighting. But I felt that way when I found out Jimmy G was gonna play. I'm like, oh, Jimmy G's gonna play. Because again, it's a weird philosophy coming off of Josh McDaniels on what he did last year. And again, I do not understand Josh McDaniels' philosophy. And this year with Jimmy G having injuries, I figured he would have held him out like he did last year with Derek Carr. And apparently Devontae Adams played as well, but he didn't get any targets that I know of. But still, I just don't understand the decisions sometimes, either right or wrong. But hey, it was a good thing to get him out there, to get him acclimated. And he came out strong. Took the team down the field, had a nice little drive. I think I got some notes. I think I wrote down some notes of the game while I was watching it. And let me try to read it from my perspective a little bit better so I can remember what I said and what I wanted to talk about. All right, yeah. And then Chandler Jones didn't make the trip. I guess I'm not up to date with every storyline, so forgive me. I guess Chandler Jones did not make the trip. That was kind of interesting to me because it's only to L.A. Like how far of a trip is Vegas to L.A.? 4 hours? An hour on a plane? 45 minutes? So I guess they figured if he wasn't even going to suit up and Just leave him at home and let him rest. But how bad could the injury be if it is an injury? I got to look into more details in that. So yeah, let's look at the stats and then we can get into some of my comments on the game. Aidan O'Connell finished the game 11 out of 18 for 163 yards and 2 touchdowns. And the big running back, Zamir White, 10 carries, 40 yards, an average of 4. I think he brought his average up from last week. Philip Dorsett was the big leader from the wide receiver category. So let's look at the quarterback categories, and we'll talk a little bit more about Brian Hoyer and stuff in a minute. He didn't look so great. 12 out of 22, 144 with one ridiculous pick six. Jimmy Garoppolo was for 40. Zamir White, Damian Williams got some carries. Bunch of the Patriots. West got some carries. And Sincere McCormick didn't have as big of a day as he did last week. And Aidan O'Connell had a few runs in there as well. 3 for 5. Pretty interesting. Wide receivers, Philip Dorsett, 4 for 76, average of 19. Trey Tucker had a little bit of play in this game. We'll talk about him a little bit more in a minute. Keelan Cole had a big outing. Christian Wilkerson had a big outing. And the big stars, Jacoby Myers and stuff like that. Michael Mayer got a good catch. That was nice to see coming off an injury. And the defensive side of the ball, Drake Thomas, Mari Burney had another decent game from that. Luke Masters and the linebackers didn't fare so well. We'll talk about that in a minute. And the defense wasn't the best in this game. Apparently Drake Thomas looked the best out of everybody so far. But there's the stats so far. Let's get into the team stats. We had a total of 440 total yards, 342 passing, 98 rushing, 6.3 yards per play. Pretty good average. Third down efficiency, 7 out of 13, much better than the Rams at 3 for 11. We were 0 for 1 on fourth down. We ran 70 plays, which is really good. Sacks allowed, we gave up 1. They gave up 1. Punch, they had 7. Yeah, time of possession, we controlled it by a little bit, and we both had 1 interception. All right, pretty interesting game, y'all. So let's get into some of my game thoughts in the play on the field. In terms of special teams, DeAndre Carter looked pretty dang good. He just stepped out of bounds on one of the plays that could have went to the house on special teams, and he looked fast, and he looked quick. And that is an upgrade from everybody we've had on special teams. They also had Trey Tucker on special teams at one point, and he dropped the ball in the end zone and, in my opinion, made a bad decision to pick it up and try to run out of the end zone, when if he just dropped down on the end zone or took a fair catch or picked it up after he fumbled it, it would have automatically went to the 25. But he ran it out. He wanted to showcase his talents, and it was a really horrible decision. And I think he only got to the 8 or 9 or something like that, to that effect. And, yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about Trey Tucker as we go along. Brian Hoyer came in the game after Jimmy Garoppolo looked pretty decent, drove the team down, got a touchdown. Brian Hoyer, ridiculous pick six. I don't know who he was throwing at. It was really, really bad. Hoyer must have been seeing ghost, like that Jets quarterback many years ago, because he threw it right to the guy, and all of us could see it. And I don't know what that means, man, for our quarterback depth, but with Aidan O'Connell looking as good as he has recently, Aidan O'Connell might be playing himself up to second fiddle. I don't think we have a quarterback controversy in terms of Garoppolo and Connell, but Hoyer, yeah, just didn't look the part on the game. And then one interesting note that I did not know the answer to, but they showed a defensive player wearing the number 28, and it freaked me out. I didn't know that Jacobs changed his number to 8. I guess when they revealed players can pick any number from any location or position, I guess Jacobs went back to number 8. I believe that's his college number or something of that effect. So it kind of freaked me out, and I was like, why did they give number 28 to that defensive player? Josh McDaniels is petty. Like with the number 4 that he forced upon Aidan O'Connell, you know? Again, that storyline is still continuing. As Rich Eisen spoke to Vic Tafur just recently, a couple days ago, and Vic Tafur updated Rich Eisen on that whole number 4 situation with former quarterback Derek Carr and Aidan O'Connell. And even Rich Eisen is like, wow, that seemed a little petty, or something's going on, man. Because they forced Aidan O'Connell with the number 4. So, it's just a weird storyline, guys, that is continuing. All right, then after Hoyer threw the pick 6, maybe the next series on defense, we got a pick 6. What a brilliant way to get revenge, or a play after a bad play to get a good play. We got a pick 6 to end the half, and that was a great bounce back as the defense overall in the first half wasn't looking so great, but to get that pick 6 really helped them out. The offense in total was different with Brian Hoyer, as he was definitely a less better quarterback, and it was less active in terms of wide receiver routes, and let's say some good play calls for Brian Hoyer as opposed to Aidan O'Connell last week. I just felt like maybe the entire game plan was a little bit different, and Hoyer and McDaniels were not as active or as cutthroat as maybe they were in week 1 versus the 49ers. But the offense felt a little bit different. But again, they are testing different plays and different schemes for each various quarterback, so I could understand that. Then Trey Tucker dropped a lot of passes last week. Not a lot, maybe a couple. And apparently he dropped some balls in training camp, and he continued the dropping passes in the camp and in the games, and it needs to be fixed. He's so talented, and it's proven by the way he's been getting open with his speed and his ability, and it needs to be fixed because that can really hinder a young player. And that's what makes me really happy that Hunter Renfrow is still the veteran there, that he hasn't been traded yet. That's a storyline that may continue in the future. But we'll talk about that in a couple weeks once we get some more information. Then there was a 4th and goal from the 9-yard line, I believe it was, with 5 seconds left before the end of the first half. And I don't know why McDaniels chose to kick the field goal with 5 seconds left. I believe we were ahead by like 10 at that point. And I felt like with the way Hoyer was playing and throwing the pick 6, and now that we're in the red zone basically, I felt like maybe that we should have did a 4th and 9-yard play with Brian Hoyer, because there was only 3 seconds or 4 or 5 seconds left, to where if he throws an interception or whatever, it doesn't matter. We already got the lead, and we can get some red zone work for Brian Hoyer and the other young players. But he didn't do that. I mean, I would have let Brian Hoyer try to make a play, but in my opinion, McDaniels lacked the faith in him, especially after the pick 6. And clearly, McDaniels wanted points toward a just win, baby. And to continue the preseason record that he's had with the Raiders of so far being undefeated. But again, I would have went for a 4th down and 9 play with Brian Hoyer to get the work. That's just me. Then Aidan O'Connell came in the second half, and let's be honest, he didn't look as crisp with doing every big play as he did last week. But let's be honest, he didn't regress. And he looks very poised in the pocket, and he still looks confident. And he had a couple throws this week as well when he was just about to get hit, and he made the play. just like Jimmy Garoppolo did a big play early on to Jacoby Myers with standing in the pocket on his injured leg and making the play. AOC, Aidan O'Connell, he looked very poised and confident, and especially he still continued to look confident in the red zone when he threw that touchdown. Perfect pass, stood up straight, never moved, never balked, even though the defender was getting really close to him. And wow, he looked fantastic. Overall, it was a great game of development for the young players. The linebackers struggled, in my opinion, against really crappy Rams quarterbacks and wide receivers, but they pulled it all together. They had a good game, and the defensive line didn't get to the quarterback as much as they did in the first week versus the 49ers, and that could be going to the storyline that I talked about last week, where maybe McDaniels and Patrick Graham threw out a bunch of blitzes, some crisscrosses, and really game planned a little bit more for that 49er game for some reason, or to do something like that. And in a continuation of a storyline of last week with the media, the reporters that are on the broadcast talking about the game, the Rams broadcasters had a field day, giving every excuse for the Rams not playing good, and they also called out McDaniels and continued the hate train that is against the Raiders due to all of us. I've done it myself. But they continued it in the media, in the presence, and we showed them at the end of the game. That being said, I had to sit through a Sean McDermott pick six from Brian Hoyer, where not Sean McDermott, whoever the coach is for the Rams, he was doing an interview right when Brian Hoyer threw the pick six, and I had to watch that whole damn thing, and him get excited and cheer on his team and all that other stuff, and it pissed me the heck off to witness that. Just what a bad pick six by Hoyer. That being said, I finally found a channel that was working, and it had Rich Gannon and I believe it was Matt Millen on, so I got a little bit of coverage from them. Rich Gannon spoke highly about Aidan O'Connell, and he even said that he reminds him a little bit of Aaron Rodgers in the pocket. But he said the Tom Brady comparisons that they are giving in the media can be called accurate as of this early in his career compared to the first years with Tom Brady. So, unfortunately, with Josh McDaniels as the coach, him replacing Derek Carr, McDaniels basically only having Tom Brady for so many years, win so many championships. The comparisons between AOC, Derek Carr, Tom Brady, is he the next savior, this and that, it's going to go on for a good while. But Aidan O'Connell is handling it like a prized dude. So now the Raiders are 2-0 looking into the Cowboys game, and I'll give a recap or a preview of that game in a couple of minutes. So there it is. What a great game of development for our young team to get this season started. I'm so proud of the guys, looking forward to excitement. Finally got rid of some of the negativity. Had to go into some therapies, realize my blessings, and I had to regroup, requip like the Ghostbusters, and the song from Bobby Brown. I had to regroup, requip, get it crop, and I'm quip. The Ghostbusters are back, whatever that Bobby Brown song was from the movie. That being said, Raiders win 34-17, scoring over 30 points a game in each game. I don't know the average. It's probably 32 or might even be 33, the average. And it's looking good. And the defense in 2 weeks, they basically kept each team under 20 points. First week, 7 points. This week, 17. And that's a total of 24. So you have the average. That's 12 points a game. And yeah, that's pretty good. I know it's preseason. I don't want to get too excited like everybody is. But let's be honest. This is looking really, really interesting in terms of gameplay. But again, I hate to be the contrarian. We always know what happens to the Raiders once the season starts. It's always a roller coaster of up and down, BS and then happy, then excitement, then failure. And I don't want that roller coaster anymore. I just want to be up, 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 constantly for the next 5 years. Up, 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 up. I'm so tired of it. All right, let's get into some of the untalked about storylines. Maybe they are talked about, but these are my observation of some untold storylines from this week's game or practice or whatever's going on. All right, in continuation of the Josh Jacobs saga, with the Dalvin Cook signing, there are a lot of people talking that Josh Jacobs has to make a decision. And a lot of people thought he might have held out till like week 10 or 11, which I did as well, and still continue to get $3 or $4 million in game checks while trying to not get his body injured. But with Dalvin Cook signing for less than $10 million, and all the running back troubles that are going on, Josh Jacobs is having to make some really harsh decisions of whether to bring himself in around week 1 or whatever. But there are rumors and rumblings around from people in his circle that they believe Josh is going to show up before week 1. I'm very excited about that. The Raiders need him. They haven't proven yet that they can live without him, even though they're doing okay. But the running backs are not breaking as many tackles, and you just cannot replace Josh Jacobs. And this team looking as decent as they are, even with the young quarterbacks, you need Josh Jacobs. That veteran, that locker room president that holds his heart on his sleeve, you need him. For these young players, and again, if we play better than we did last year, you need a solid running back star to get it done. You can't just hand the reins to a young Zamir White who is struggling, but they're looking good, but you just cannot replace Josh Jacobs. And let's be honest, $10 million with today's world and economy and everything, even though it's not all guaranteed, and he's going to make the decision, I believe, to show up and put it all on the line. But the rumors are there as well, since the video of Dave Ziegler talking to a fan, that maybe they might put some incentives for Josh Jacobs to get some incentives, maybe an extra $1 million or $2 million to sign a 1-year deal, maybe get rid of the tag from next year that they could place on him again, and maybe add some incentives or some bonuses for yardage or this or that. But again, coming off being the running back of the year and all the statistics he did, do the incentives have to be similar or close to it? Then on top of that, why do you even, if you are coming from a business aspect, as of Dave Ziegler and all that, you already got him by the balls for $10.1 million. And if he doesn't play, you guys might be willing to try, Zamir White, Abdullah, all the Patriots West players. And you're like, doesn't matter, we saved $10 million. So it doesn't make good business. First off, it doesn't make good business not to let him play or gave him a contract. But it doesn't make good business at this point in their relationship to give him incentives. It would look good publicly, but I don't think they care about how they look publicly. They got him by the balls. You either sign the tag or you don't. But again, if they want to ingratiate themselves a little bit, they're going to give him incentives. But let's be honest, they don't need to. So if they did it, They're just trying to play to the fans to look a little bit better, like they hooked them up or whatever the case may be, that type of strategy. But they don't need to. You don't need no incentives. Your incentives are 10.1 million on the tag. That's the harsh reality of the situation. Now let's talk about Dave Ziegler and Josh McDaniels. Their young players are looking good. The storylines have died down about their pettiness, about their draft clashes, and a lot of people are on the boats drinking the Kool-Aid after 2 weeks of the preseason that they are geniuses and they can do no wrong. A lot more people than a couple of weeks ago are back on that train. But let's be honest. A lot of people still think of him as a snake. A lot of people think of Dave Ziegler as an idiot. But right now, they are riding the train of winning, and that's all that matters in this league. And Josh McDaniels is handling players. I don't know how he's handling players differently so far this year, but he's still handling some of the injuries and the starters and stuff like that with head-scratching abilities from my perspective. That being said, we'll find out what's going on in the next couple weeks, but that's a storyline that'll continue, is how will he coach the men once turmoil hits the Raiders and maybe we lose a game or two? Will he resort to the way he treated everybody last year, where he doesn't give a F, and then he starts possibly wanting to trade players because they're not buying into whatever he's selling? Is there a possible outraged Devontae Adams if we don't win a lot of games, or if we struggle early? It's going to be an interesting season to watch, but I hope it's a winning one. Now let's talk about the best decision ever. The fourth rounder, Aidan O'Connell. Is there a quarterback controversy? A lot of people are saying that online. I believe they are jumping the gun. They are releasing their wad a little bit too early. They are doing all that other stuff like a teenage child that saw boobies for their first time. He looks good though, and that's all we can expect and hope for, is that he continues to upgrade and look as poised as he does. Again, the perspective, since he was forced to wear the number 4, is going to be into people's mind, and this is a psychological game of warfare. People don't want to talk about it. Why do you keep talking about him forcing the number 4 on Aidan O'Connell, blah, blah, blah. He's a better Derek Carr. Just think about the psychological games that are being played by Josh McDaniels. He did a bunch of psychological stuff last year for the people that saw it and understand it. And he continued it this year, especially with the move to force number 4 to wear number 4. So now he's playing good and looking great. So in the back of people's mind, while they watch number 4 play, they'll stop thinking about the pain from Derek Carr. It's a psychological game that if Aidan O'Connell plays good, people that did respect and still do like Carr a lot and are rooting for him, that they'll be able to get over it psychologically by watching a number 4 or a better number 4, whatever way, on the field, starting to win games for us. It's a psychological game that will work if Aidan O'Connell is winning. If Aidan O'Connell is losing, the comparisons will come back, blah, 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 and so forth. But for now, it is a psychological game, and a lot of people need to understand that and have critical thinking when they gave Aidan O'Connell number 4. But I am enjoying watching Aidan O'Connell look as good as he does, and it works on me. I forget about Derek Carr when I'm watching him look good. Even though I still got a lot of pain from the way that all went down, I will never root on Derek Carr before any other Raider player or the success of the team. But I just wish Carr the best. I hope you guys understand. And I believe he's looking decent so far with the Saints. So, you know, we'll figure that out when it comes. I hope for a Super Bowl. Saints versus the Raiders. I hope for it. That'll be fantastic. But hey, is there a quarterback controversy brewing? I don't believe so. But I do believe this next week, if Brian Hoyer plays and struggles, and Aidan O'Connell looks as good as he has this entire preseason, I could literally see Aidan O'Connell becoming the backup to Jimmy G. Because if anything happens to Jimmy G during the season, we have a young, good-looking quarterback to take over that'll give us the promise. You know, so it's unlike the Derek Carr injury where our starting quarterback that maybe is winning for us, maybe Jimmy G's winning like Carr did in 2016. And if something bad happened, which I hope it doesn't, knock on wood, you know, for even thinking about it. But then we would feel okay that we could win a few games with, you know, AOC coming in the game. We didn't feel that way about Mac McGloin or Connor Cook back in the 2016 season. So that is one good thing about Aidan O'Connell possibly taking over the number 2 spot over Brian Hoyer. And then that way, again, I'm not saying if anything bad happens, but again, if anything bad happens to Jimmy G and Aidan O'Connell is second string or the backup officially, then again, Aidan O'Connell can go in there. And then if Aidan O'Connell doesn't look as good as he should, or if he even struggles or an injury or whatever, now we got the veteran in Brian Hoyer that can maybe win us a couple of games down the stretch. I think that is the better philosophy. If that happened, how will Brian Hoyer take it? But he's a champion. He's always been a backup. But he might be demoted to third string. But the truth is going to be told in this next game. And I think that would be, if Aidan O'Connell looks as good and Brian Hoyer doesn't step up more than Aidan O'Connell did, I think that's the move Josh McDaniels needs to make publicly. Put confidence in Aidan O'Connell, make him the backup, demote Brian Hoyer to third, and who cares? Who cares? I think that would be the move to make. But we still got a game to talk about it. They still got a couple weeks to think about it, and I'm sure that's what they're going to do. That being said, Aidan O'Connell, I don't have the stats in front of me, but compared to all the first-round draft picks that were quarterbacks, second-round draft picks, third-round quarterbacks, I believe he's the only one with touchdowns or more than 2 and the most yardage out of all of them and probably played more than them. I do not know, but all I know is these quarterbacks that were taken earlier, these prize studs like Bryce Young and whoever, Aidan O'Connell so far, and I don't think anybody can disagree, is looking the best out of all of them after 2 preseason games. So, we might have grabbed a steal. We might have grabbed the next starting quarterback for our team, a future quarterback. Looking pretty good. Looking pretty good. All right, if there's any storylines I've missed that I didn't talk about, let me know. I didn't really do that much research this weekend on some of the other hidden storylines. I had a big event with my acting school. I had a reunion. A lot of celebrities, a lot of actors from the 90s, 2000s, 80s were there to celebrate 40 years of the acting school. And I had a beautiful time. So I wasn't able to really watch all the stories and the press conferences and all that other stuff this week. But I'm hoping to get back for next week for maybe a better Untold Storylines video. So if there's any storylines that I possibly didn't talk about, let me know down below. Or, you know, some drama or some stories I might have missed that might creep up in the future or something. You guys are on top of it. Please let me know. I truly appreciate it. One storyline I did forget to mention in this video was the first draft pick, Tyree Wilson, Just a week ago, I didn't even think he was going to get into camp or be on the field for any game until probably week 5, 6, 7, or 8, or 9, or somewhere around that range. But apparently, he came back to camp a couple of days ago, and he's officially practicing. I don't know how many more days off they're going to give him and all the other players, the veterans that keep coming in and out. But at least that's a good sign for Tyree Wilson coming off the video where it looked like he might have still had a leg problem that I spoke about last week. So that's a blessing. Let's hope that he can improve, and let's hope he can even play in week 1, a couple of snaps, and we'll hope for a brighter future for Tyree Wilson. All right, y'all. That being said, the Raiders got a big victory. We are now 2-0, looking to hopefully be undefeated for our second season under Josh McDaniels. And the Raiders face the Cowboys. I don't know the date. I don't know the time. I haven't really got into it. Probably Saturday or Sunday again. And this will be the final preseason game of the season. A lot of storylines and questions to answer for this game. Again, will Jimmy G play? Will he start? How long will he play? You know, will they build upon what they did with last week with Jimmy G? Will Devontae play again? Again, some coaches, after what they saw from Jimmy G in week 2, that he looked as decent, 4 for 4, whatever he went for, they're just like, you know what, we're good. We don't need to play. Will Aidan O'Connell start over Brian Hoyer? That might be a telling statement to make, that Brian Hoyer is possibly moving down on the depth chart. Do they want to get a look at Aidan O'Connell with the first string offense or offensive line, or move him up in the ranks? That'll be a storyline. I don't think they're going to do it for this week. I think Brian Hoyer, in all honesty, Jimmy G will come in and play one series again, like they did last week. And then I have a feeling Brian Hoyer will come in for the next series with hopefully the starters or most of them on offense. I think Brian Hoyer will play with them a little bit for a series or two. Then, depending on how Brian Hoyer looks in that series or two, I believe Aidan O'Connell will play the entire second half, maybe in the third. But that's just my predictions. But it could be a game plan just like last week. But we'll see what happens. And let's see Trey Tucker get some catches. I'd like to see Hunter Renfrow on the field early a little bit. And we're going to start getting some cuts in the next couple days. And a couple days after this game. It's going to be a really, really interesting week. And I'll predict my starting lineup on the next episode. And we'll get into all that in a little bit. Again, I'm not going to go into much details, but on defense, again, I think Max Crosby played last week versus the Rams a little bit. I expect Max to do the same against the Cowboys. Again, depending on if they play Dak Prescott and stuff like that, you might as well do it. Try to put out your star-studded defensive line and your cornerbacks for at least a series. But that being said, like I said, who knows what they're going to do. But that's what I would do. Now, let me give you my game prediction. Again, and a lot of people are not going to like this. I actually predict the Raiders are going to lose this game because, like I said, I believe Aidan O'Connell might start the game. I believe Jimmy G will, but I believe Aidan O'Connell might play with the first string, and we'll get a couple of touchdowns through him. Then I believe Brian Hoyer might play like the second half. You know, and then I think it might be a little bit downhill from there. And I just think the Cowboys defensively will make a play or two against Hoyer and win it in the end. And I don't care if we lose. I don't care if we lose. I want to win. I wouldn't mind being undefeated for a second year in a row in the preseason under McDaniels. But I don't care if we lose. I just want to see Aidan O'Connell take more steps, play with the first string. Hopefully he can. I want to see Jimmy Garoppolo again in the system with the first string. And I want to see Brian Hoyer play better, even if he's playing with the third string offense and defense. And I want to see Brian Hoyer hopefully help some Raider players make the team. with his veteran leadership. But I predict the Cowboys will win 26-24, and I believe Aidan O'Connell might literally have another 2-touchdown game in this one as well, and I believe Jimmy Garoppolo will have a touchdown, and unfortunately, I don't see Brian Hoyer throwing one. I see them maybe getting a field goal with Brian Hoyer in there. But that being said, people think it's going to be more high scoring as it has been. But I think the teams are going to play their starters or their better players this week to get a better look at them. So I think it's going to be a little bit more difficult for the Raiders on offense and defense, both ways, both sides of the ball. Same thing for the Cowboys, vice versa. Cowboys pulled it out. But I want the Raiders to win. But it sounds kind of stupid. But when we go undefeated, we went undefeated many years ago as well, and we didn't have a good season. I mean, we went undefeated in the preseason, and we didn't have a good season the rest of the other time many years ago. Same thing kind of happened last year. So, kind of don't want to go undefeated in the preseason. You know? I don't want to go into the season with all this excitement. All the players thinking, yeah, we're undefeated 2 years in a row in the preseason. You know, yeah, we're looking good. Everybody's looking good. And then to week one, have a turkey. You know? I don't know if my heart can take it. So who cares if we lose this game? I mean, I want to win, but who cares if we lose it? And let's just get ready for the first week of the season. That's my prediction. I thank you guys for tuning in to this 40-minute video. Tune in this Friday or Saturday for the next Raider Football Talk video. And I love you guys. God bless you. Consider hitting that thumbs up, that like, that subscribe button. Consider becoming a member. There is merchandise links below to support your boy. Let me know any of your thoughts on today's storylines I missed. Give the Rants Hotline a call so I can get you and I can comment on your messages regarding the game or anything Raider Nation related. I'm Mikey Raider. I'm back, baby. This is going to be a beautiful 2023 season. Let's put it into existence. Raiders are going to tear it up and prove a lot of doubters and haters, specifically me, wrong. And I can't wait to do the truffle shuffle and put nipple clamps on me. That's right. If we win more than 7 games, like we did last year, I will do the truffle shuffle live on air without my shirt, put on some nipple clamps. I'm hoping to do it. I love you, Raiders. Thanks for chiming in. I'll see you in the next video.